Have you wondered what you can actually do about your insomnia? Well, in our world, the most practical we get is probably the teaching around the timeless sleep window. And in this episode, we have an update. We introduced the timeless sleep window on this channel about 3 years ago. And since then, our thoughts have evolved. Our way of teaching this have evolved. And this is an update to one of our key teachings. Hope you'll find it really helpful. Hi there, and again, welcome to this episode. Hope you're doing really well. And yes, I thought about this for a while, that it's time to update the timeless sleep window teaching because it has evolved. Like when you teach something over and over again, you little by little see that, this could be more helpful to say this way. This could be more helpful to explain this way. And the teaching kind of evolves. So this episode is really an update, if you will, of Insomnia Insight 391, where we introduced the timeless sleep window on the channel. And I think it may be worthwhile watching that because it's not gonna we're not gonna go over everything we did in that episode, but they're gonna be kind of similar. So it's an update slash maybe replacing that one. But anyways, I want to say something I said back in 391 again, which is that I want to thank Martin Reed and Michael Schwartz for the ideas that led to the timeless sleep window. It was from Martin Reed that I took away this concept of sleep window. He didn't really like saying sleep restriction because it sounds kind of scary, particularly when you're not sleeping much, then you're going to further restrict your sleep. So he said, let's call it sleep window. And I like that. I was like, that sounds nice and gentle. And then Michael Schwartz, who started the sleep coach school with me, what's that now, 4 or 5 years ago? He was like Mr. Timeless, Mr. Fuzzy. He loved this concept of making things kind of unclear and uncertain. And that's actually very, very helpful because insomnia is so much about trying to get control, right? So this whole timeless principle I really got from him. So I kind of combine those into the timeless sleep window. But this is a little shout out and a little historic backlook. So with that said, in this episode, we're going to break it up into 3 sections. One, we're going to talk about sleep restriction, which is a CBT-I, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia technique. And we're going to see that there is some value in it, but it's kind of tricky the way it's presented. Then we're going to look at the timeless sleep window and the update of the teaching. And then we're going to look at some common questions. So let's jump in. So what is sleep restriction? It's also known as bedtime restriction. Sometimes it's abbreviated simply as SR. And for those of you who have never heard of this, the idea behind sleep restriction is essentially that insomnia comes from a place where we're lacking in sleep drive. It is believed in CBT-I that we change our behavior when we have trouble sleeping and we spend a lot of time in bed. And then instead of getting like one nice chunk of sleep, we get kind of little aliquots of sleep, a little nap there, a little nap there, a little nap there. So the idea behind sleep restriction is to kind of compress that little sleep into one chunk and then gradually extend the time we spend in bed to extend our sleep. So something like that is the idea. And what I think is some benefit with this approach, if you will, is that it does offer some structure. Like sleep restriction tells you, like, get up this time and don't go to bed before this time, and it will typically be like, I think, shorter than what I think is helpful when we're already worried about sleep, but it does offer some structure. And why can structure be helpful? Well, imagine if we have had a long struggle with sleep and we started to do what a lot of people do, which is go to bed really early to try to catch some sleep and stay in bed extra late in the morning to catch some sleep, go to bed during the day to try to catch some sleep, etc. And if somebody says, well, no, just spend a little time in bed, then that structure can keep us from chasing sleep. It can keep us from like going to bed early to get sleep or staying extra to get sleep. It can keep us from that, like, let me try to get some sleep. Let me try to get some sleep. And that can be really helpful because when we're no longer trying to achieve sleep, it happens by itself. Sleep is a passive process. So structure, I think, is beneficial. But I think the problem with this sleep restriction is this implied controllability. The idea is presented that if you just make yourself really, really exhausted and sleepy, then that sleepiness will override whatever anxiety you have and you will sleep, which is not true. Because if we make ourselves stay up really, really late, and we do become, building up some sleep drive, the body wants to sleep more the more we're awake, right? But if we build up a lot of sleep drive and then we go, I hope this makes me sleep, this better make me sleep, this must work, then that creates so much anxiety that it really doesn't matter how sleepy you are, we're not going to sleep well. So this implied controllability idea, I think, is very, very tricky, and it's often coupled with writing diaries and keeping track of time, and all that can lead to so much performance anxiety. So I think this implied controllability and lack of understanding of the driver insomnia is tricky in sleep restriction. And again, the lack of understanding is that there's so much emphasis on sleep drive being an important factor, and there's not that understanding that it's actually the desire for sleep, the craving to sleep, the wanting to sleep, which is the same as the fear of not sleeping. That is really the driver of insomnia. So these are the tricky things with sleep restriction. So in some ways, to replace that, or to offer an alternative to that, we have what we call our timeless sleep window. And what is the benefit of this? Well, it does, again, offer that structure, which can lead us away from chasing sleep, which is really helpful. But it also invites us to leave attempts at control. Instead of this implied controllability, we have this invitation to leave attempts at control, because we know that the attempt to control is what drives the sleep struggle. So with that said, now let's get a little bit more practical. We're going to see how we set up this timeless sleep window, and we're going to look at the specific update, which I think is really helpful in the reason I'm doing this today. So if you hear this and you're like, okay, this timeless sleep window sounds interesting. What does that mean in practical terms? What do I do? Well, firstly, you just choose a time that you like to start your day. So if you have a work that you need to be at a certain point, that makes it kind of easy. Let's say you have to be at work at 8 and you have to get up at 7, then it's like, okay, maybe 7, you start your day, right? If you don't have any particular obligation, you can just think of like, what time would be practical or just preferable for me to, start my day, that, and you kind of make a memory of the time. Let's say it's 6 a.m. just to have something to work with. So let's say you go like, okay, 6 a.m. sounds good for me. Now, secondly, you choose a time that you'd like your day to end, your day to kind of fade into night, your day to become night, if you will. And this is part of the update, because this kind of sounds fuzzy. Like, what do I mean what time would you like my day to end? Well, what does it even mean? Well, this is where we're going to say you want to choose that based on the energy of day versus night. And please, if I've almost lost you when I use the word energy, please let me explain or expand on this. So with energy here, I mean the day and night, they have sort of different energies. We are a diurnal species, which means we are designed for wakefulness during the day, as opposed to like a panther or an owl. They're designed to be active and awake at night. They have kind of big eyes, they can see well at night. We don't see well at night. We are designed for the day. So for us humans, the day really is for things we need to do, like food gathering, obligations, work, achieving, getting stuff done. That is the day. That's the day is that for us, right? The night, on the other hand, is for us a time of like no obligation. This is not a time to get stuff done. This is a time for just non-doing, for rest, for stillness, for no obligations. Like this is for non-doing, non-performance, if you will, is the energy of the night for us. So again, when I say choose a time that you like your day to end, this is basically like, okay, the time that I no longer want or need to do anything in terms of obligations, and I can say, okay, my day is over. There's nothing else I need to do. Whatever I need to have done, that's for the day. Now begins the time of non-doing, no obligations, nothing I need to get done, no performance necessary. That's the energy of the night. So if you say, okay, I get it. I think for me, I I put the kids to bed, and then I brush my teeth, and then I'm done. At 10 p.m. my day is over. I like my night to start at 10 p.m. Right? Then you have it. Then your timeless sleep window is between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Right? And between these two times, you are invited to not know the time. And why are you invited to not know the time? It is because when we have been in this mindset of like, I'm not getting enough sleep, I need to do something about it, we're often tracking that, which is natural. Whenever we think we have a problem as humans, we track it, we monitor it, we try to fix it, right? So when it comes to sleep, what we often do is like, we have a tracker, or we just look at the time and we're like, oh no, it's been 2 hours and I haven't slept. Like, oh no, I woke up at 4 a.m. and I only have 4 hours left to sleep, et cetera, et cetera. All this sleep math leads to a lot of anxiety, and particularly that performance anxiety, right? And even if we, see something that is exciting to us, like, oh my gosh, I slept the whole 7 hours, then the next thought becomes, how do I do it again? So time and sleep are very, very tricky, often lead to this performance anxiety. So you're invited between, in the example we created, 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. to not know the time and just do whatever you feel like that has no goal. It's a non-goal oriented activity. And sometimes people are like, hey, Daniel, like, I was up yesterday night and I just listened to meditation, or I just listened to your YouTube channel, which may be exactly that. It may be just like what you feel like. But sometimes we can find that if we listen to like a sleep meditation all night, maybe it was goal oriented after all, right? Maybe that was an attempt to try to achieve sleep, right? And those are not invitations for self criticism, like, why am I doing that? But it's rather just like clarity. Oh, okay, maybe I can still see a further invitation to let go of goal oriented activity and just do something I feel like, whether that's reading a book, listening to podcasts, just resting, having a snack, whatever you feel like, has no obligation, no goal. That is very, very nice for our timeless sleep window. And so those are the updates. And with that said, there are some common questions. And one is, what time do I go to bed? And I highlight this because sometimes people are confused and they think like, oh, that's 10 p.m. in our example. That's my bedtime. That's the time I need to go to bed. But it isn't. It's rather just the time where this, the energy of the night, takes precedent, and we're just doing whatever we feel like that has no obligation. So if it's like 10 p.m. and you feel like, having a bath or having a snack or reading a book or whatever it is, you can do that. And you can say like, okay, I'm not going to check the time from now on. Now I'm just going to do whatever I feel like and sleep whenever I feel like it. So what time you go to bed is just that. When you feel like it, you can do it whenever you feel like it. And not like when you feel sleepy enough. That's very tricky, because if we think like, oh, I'm going to wait to go to bed until I feel sleepy enough, which we are often told about, that leads us to self-monitoring. Like, am I sleepy enough? I'm sleepy, but am I sleepy enough to go to bed? No, just go to bed when you feel like it. The fuzzier, the better. Now, B, how important is it to get up at the same time? It's not important in itself to get up at the same time. It is really intent that matters. So if we wake up and we're like, oh no, I didn't get enough sleep, I need to get more sleep, I need to stay in bed so I get more sleep, then it may be helpful, to get out of bed and do something different, just because we don't want to chase sleep, try to get more sleep, right? On the other hand, if it's like your wake up time, if it's 6 a.m. and your alarm goes off or something, and you're just like, I just feel like staying in bed, totally fine, right? So it's all about intent. And finally, what if what feels, oh yeah, sorry. What if what I feel like, I can't read. What if what I feel like involves seeing the time? This is another common question. Somebody says like, okay, I understand this concept of timelessness and the energy of the night, but what I like to do is actually just watch something on Netflix, and then I see the time. Well, you can, and many people have done this in our community, put a little piece of tape on that part of the screen where the time is shown. And some people have found it really, really helpful, nice and practical. But if that feels like work and it's not really practical, then think about it this way. if you keep yourself from something you like with the intent and purpose of not seeing the time, you can sense that this feels kind of high energy. You're putting some effort into not seeing the time, which sort of defeats the whole purpose of like non-doing, right? So I think generally speaking, it is more helpful to do something you like, even if you happen to see the time, and you can always just learn from that. If you know that I'm probably going to see the time now, let me see how I react to that. And if you find yourself being kind of like, you saw the time and you become a little frazzled and like you're a little sweaty, then you're like, oh, okay, I'm a little bit afraid of not sleeping. Just something to take note of. Interesting. And you can do whatever you like again. If you see the time and you're like, oh, interesting, there was no reaction, then you're like, oh, my fear of not sleeping is fading away. Interesting, nice, etc. So in summary here, I would say like low stakes, low energy, what feels like kind and gentle, that is the way. So let low stakes, low energy, let that compass lead you to peaceful sleep and peace of mind with the time of sleep window. Hope this was really helpful to you, and thanks for being here. And any comments, thoughts, questions, please post them in the comments. Bye for now.
Hi, it's me, Coach Daniel, and I really, really hope that you found an incredible amount of value in the video that you just saw. Now, speaking of value, if you would like to check out a free resource that is the perfect kickoff place for your journey towards peaceful sleep and peaceful mind, then head over to our website, thesleepcoachschool.com, and at the very top, you see a link to an invitation to download Off-to-Dreamland, our free booklet. So that was a little tip for you. I hope you find that valuable as well. And I look forward to seeing you back real soon. Bye for now.